A 5, 6, 7, 8. When you hear the call, you've got to go. In my case, to be a dancing filmmaker in New York City. Yeah, anything is possible in the Big Apple. So welcome to my studio, where I'd like you to meet some of my friends who are going for it as well. Living the dream can be challenging, but there's always time for magic. I'm Marianne Hettinger. This is HALLO New York. Today I'm very excited to be talking with American diva Ann Hampton Callaway. Ann is a multi-platinum-selling singer, composer, lyricist, pianist, and actress. She wrote and sang the theme to the TV series The Nanny, wrote songs for Barbra Streisand, and starred in the Broadway musical Swing. Welcome, Ann Hampton Callaway.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're
It's
here.
so great to see you.
The first time I ever met you was at the Indianapolis Symphony.
Right.
At the pop series.
We were dancing.
Exactly, and you were singing.
I was singing.
And it was amazing because the night before I met you, I hadn't heard you sing before. I had a dream about this amazing singer with this amazing voice who just let it flow, and her soul was just wailing and expressing herself. And then I saw you on stage, and it was like, oh my God, this is my dream. This is the woman from
That was Blues in the Night, I think.
Blues in the Night,
That's
yes,
right. I remember you telling me that.
Oh my God, and I was just struck. I was just amazed. And you have really influenced my life and inspired me as many, many others. So it all started in Chicago.
That's right.
A music-loving family.
Yeah, it was funny because I don't think my sister, who was a Broadway star, I don't think we realized that we had a special upbringing. We were sort of in this wonderful creative atmosphere with a mom who sang torch songs in the middle of the afternoon. And our dad would scat sing and play drums on the weekends and interview us on our fireplace. Wow. The whole family moved to New York, and then we got to go to Broadway shows, and the teachers that I had in New York were extremely inspiring. And then I grew up listening to Barbra Streisand, and now I've been putting a tribute show out there in the world with orchestras and my trio called the Streisand Songbook. So I opened the show in Boston with Alan Bergman, and it was incredible paying tribute to Barbra. They had actually asked me if I would put the show together. So I was at first hesitant because here is probably the greatest living singer of our time, who's still singing, in fact recently performed in Brooklyn and toured around the country. So it was a daunting challenge, and I thought, am I up for this? And I thought, you know, I've celebrated Ella Fitzgerald, my other major influence. I would love to dive into these great songs and also tell the stories of what it was like writing for her and meeting her. And so the result has been probably the most exciting show I've put together. And I got all her top arrangers to arrange for me. And I put new arrangements of these. I did my own arrangements and had them orchestrate them. And the audiences have been so incredibly responsive. The first night I sang at Symphony Hall in Boston, I got 9 standing ovations.
9!
Wasn't that amazing?
Oh, that's great. So how do you prepare for the show? What would be, maybe you can sing your answer?
Well, when I'm preparing to pay tribute to Barbra Streisand, I try to go into my heart and really think about the words I'm singing and the painting I am painting of this woman. A woman who didn't fit in. She was a cocky girl from Brooklyn. Nobody had seen someone like that become famous, but she did. And she reminds us all that we can have our dreams come true if we only follow our heart like Barbra Streisand did.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
No, that didn't sound anything like Barbra, so I don't want the show to be like a Barbra Streisand imitation.
You're not an impersonator, so.
No, that's Steve Brinberg's idea, right, yeah.
Oh, that was so wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm speechless now.
Well, and then you have to sing.
Oh, okay. She can yodel. Anything. So
It's nice to be able to honor the people who paved the way for me and so many other artists.
wonderful. So when I heard you at the symphony, you can sound like different instruments. You have a capacity of just taking phrases from the audience and making a song impromptu. You just make music out of it. You play on the piano, you get these different phrases, make a song out of it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Where did this capacity of improvising come from? Or it was just there from the beginning?
You know, I think a lot of people, I don't know, what were you like as a kid? Did you make up little songs when you were a little girl?
I was really self-conscious. I was told I loved Kurt Weill, and I used to sing a lot. I used to sing along, and I thought I had to strengthen my voice because some idiot singing teacher told me to yell it as loud as I could. And that's the opposite.
Wow.
So I used to yell Kurt Weill songs.
Oh my goodness.
And my mother told me not to because she didn't think it sounded good.
I was a very bad piano student, and I was very frustrated that I couldn't play Beethoven immediately. So I would throw my book across the room, and I would start playing fake Beethoven. Like I would just make up my own Beethoven. Right, and then I would sing. I was a very emotional teenager, and I was very full of melancholy, and so I would just make up these songs, and I would write my poems with my flashlight under the blanket. And my father gave me a rhyming dictionary when I was 10 years old, and I started really getting into rhyming and putting words together and images together, and reading poetry books. And so I think I just always was naturally wanting to be in the moment, expressing myself.
Wow.
But I also heard a friend of mine, Barbara Feldon, the TV actress, told me that there was a culture in ancient China where the people's job, they were almost called to do this. Their job was, if somebody was born, if somebody died, if people were getting married, if they'd fallen in love, they would go to the house and they would make up a poem about that important event in their life. And when I heard this, I thought, well, maybe that was who I was in another life. Maybe this is just who I am. When September 11th happened, I was at the ashram where I practiced Siddha Yoga, and our teacher Guru Mai said, when the people died, they didn't realize they died. It happened so quickly.
Yeah.
Let's send blessings. So I created that night, I created a song circle, a spontaneous song circle, and I invited singers and non-singers, whoever wanted to be there, to bless the people who had died with music.
Amazing.
And all
That's
these
wonderful.
people had never sung around other people, started singing beautiful words, and it was probably the most powerful musical experience of my life. So when you ask me about improvisation, I really think it's a natural instinct, and if something is more important than our ego and our being perfect,
You have an open channel.
Yeah.
You receive
You
what,
allow
and your
something
talent
to
is
happen.
get filtered through your own talent and
right.
sensibilities.
And that's what I try to do with my audiences, is to encourage them to experience that too.
I know that's very special about you, because you're interested in the other person. You coax them out.
Right. So I mean, maybe in this, as we're talking, maybe you could sing, improvise some singing. Right.
Yeah.
When did you start doing yodeling?
I used to hate it, but now I'm finally embracing my roots, where I came from. There's a lot of wonderful things.
You know, I think we're all very creative beings, and I'm glad to get to know my thoughts, because sometimes I think we're so busy in this crazy world, so stressed out by all the things going on, that sometimes we just have to be quiet and still and hear the inner workings of our mind, our imagination.
And you just answered my question. You have a wonderful quote by André Gide.
Oh yes, yeah.
Art is the collaboration of God and
between
the artist.
God and the artist.
Between God and the artist.
And the less the artist does, the better. See, we could do a little rap song. Art is the collaboration between God and the artist, and the less the artist does, the better.
Exactly. You are the only composer who has collaborated with
Cole Porter. Yes, isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Yes. And they found a song
a friend of mine,
posthumously after he had died. They found lyrics and you set music to it?
Yeah, and then I was at a recording session with Ben Bagley, a producer, and I played him the song. He said, oh, let's record it. I said, we can't, it's not published. He said, well, let's record it and I'll send it to the publisher. And I went off to England and I came back with the amazing news that these ladies who answered the phone said, oh no, we don't want to hear any song written by some woman to Cole Porter's words. How dare she think that? And he said, well, Anne would like to get the note from the head of the estate. And so the head of the estate played the song in his car and wept and said, "Oh my God, this song is really beautiful. Let's publish it." And so I was blown away. There's so many times in life where somebody says no, and as my father taught me, no is the beginning of negotiation. To find another way of making your dream come true. Interesting, these
So
treasures.
your music heals.
Yeah.
I hear it heals you, it heals people, it inspires us on many different levels.
I think so, yeah. And so does your dance. I always wanted to be a dancer, so when I see
I
you
gave you a
dance,
salsa lesson once.
I know,
Remember, how's your
that was
salsa
fun.
going?
No, I need some brushing
I
up.
should teach you and Carrie some nice salsa. That's right.
That's such fun dancing. It's so joyous. Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So I have 9 questions
9
prepared.
questions. Wow. Maybe I'll sing a few answers.
Try to be spontaneous, please. Okay. First job ever.
First job ever. I think I had a singing job at the top of the Holiday Inn in Champaign-Urbana, where I was singing and playing the piano for, I think, maybe $30 for the entire night. And after that experience, it's amazing I still became a singer.
Wonderful. What's your favorite smell?
I love the smell of like dawn when the grass is full of dew and there's just this fresh smell. And I love, especially if there's pine trees around. I love the smell of fresh pine trees.
Yes, I can smell it now.
Yeah.
Do you eat the stems of your broccoli?
I do, but usually I avoid the very bottoms of them.
Yeah. A little bit coarse.
I like things tender. Yeah.
Okay. If there was any other profession other than you've done, what would you like to try? What attempt?
I think I would be an interesting therapist. I like to get into people's minds and help them to become themselves. It's a fascinating thing, how we get hurt and how we heal, and helping people to become their true selves again.
My greatest weakness is?
I take on too much. I just want to say yes to everything that people ask me to do, and I have a big heart, and I'm only one person. So every now and then I realize, even though I'm a dynamo, there are limits to what I can do and what I can say and what I can accomplish, and it's very frustrating. So I'm going to start to grow other arms so I can be like a special goddess and achieve all the different things I want to do.
I would love to meet.
I would love to meet some of the great spiritual teachers of through time, and maybe I have in other lives, but yeah, I think the great beings who have achieved enlightenment, those are the people I want to meet. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm really good at.
I think I'm good at loving. I just am naturally a loving person, and I love my audiences. I love words. I love nature. I love music. I love life, and I love life more than ever. I'm very blessed to have been given love in my childhood, and so that's just the spirit I try to do everything, and I feel like that people need it, and I want to give it, and I also want to receive it. I used to not be so good at receiving it, but now I'm trying to do better at that too.
If I had the power to change something in the world, which you're already doing on a lot of levels, what would you change?
If I had the power to change something in this world, I would stop war. I would open people's hearts so they'd be loving and compassionate and feel good about themselves and wouldn't need to hurt anyone at all. If they were mad at someone, they'd just tell them, and they'd find a way to work it out. They wouldn't take a gun or a bomb. That's just boring and immature. So I'm trying to sing love. Yes, sing love. I'm trying to sing love into this world for peace.
Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you for coming. God
Thank
bless
you.
you. You're a blessing.
Yay. I like your puja here. It's nice.
Yes.
Okay. Ich bin von Kopf bis Fuß auf Liebe eingestellt, denn das ist meine Welt und sonst gar nichts.
Love it. Our next guest is Chris Orbach. Chris is an actor, voiceover artist, singer, musician, and composer. He recently co-wrote and starred in a series of shorts called STAKEOUT.
Fucking difference does it make?
It's a big difference. I mean, the Atlantic stuff is poison. Pure fucking poison, because the Atlantic's so dirty. I mean, the Alaskan stuff is cleaner because the Pacific isn't as contaminated yet. The Atlantic stuff, I mean, it's got so much mercury, you can get this thing called Minamata syndrome.
A min of what? Now you're just making shit up.
No.
No, you're just making shit up.
No, I'm not.
Why exactly
I
is the
read about
Atlantic
it.
dirty? Because it's
Look,
on the East Coast?
No.
Or is the Pacific cleaner? They take yoga and fucking
It's nothing to do with
deep
that.
breathing
It
and
has
shit
nothing
like
to do.
that.
It has to do with
sprouts,
industrial
so
waste,
much fucking
shipping
healthier.
lanes, fucking sewage. It's got a lot to do with the population, a lot of things.
So welcome, Chris Orbach.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so glad you came to the show.
Great to see you.
You were born and raised in New York City.
That's absolutely right. That's
Which borough?
in Manhattan, in Chelsea. Still, it was a very cool place to grow up because there were so many different kinds of people, which is always the best, I think, the best way to grow up. So,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And you were born into acting royalty. Your father, Jerry Orbach, of course, played Briscoe, Detective Briscoe on Law and Order.
Sure.
And that was also your first acting role, right? Didn't
Well,
you?
that was
or
one of
did
the-
you do something before then?
Well, that
First
was
episode?
that was the first union job I ever did. Yeah, which was very important.
You played his nephew.
I
not
played
his
his
son,
I
but
played his nephew. Yeah.
How was that? Did you interact with your father on the show, or
Only
was it
once.
a different scene?
Only once, very briefly, honestly, it was an interesting time because I don't think I was ready for it at the time, and I was just very kind of overwhelmed. But
Ready for being on camera acting, or facing your father on camera?
well, to both, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the on-camera part was a little easier.
And you've been a musician your whole life, it seems.
Yeah.
You just played from a young childhood on. Did you grow up with a lot of music in the house?
Oh yeah.
So you were...
Well, my father, you know, he was in musicals.
Yes.
Through him, I got into a lot of the classic singers like Frank Sinatra and
Yeah,
Louis
yeah.
Armstrong and stuff. But also, he was also very into folk music. He was also very into Bob Dylan. And I've always been sort of pulled between acting and music, and the result has always been that both have kind of suffered, because I get very into one and then I stop doing the other. Because I think it's a very American, very sort of market mentality, which is like, this is what you get paid for, this is what
know.
you're known for, so that's all you should do. And I think I've internalized that, and it's like limited me. So I'm really trying to break out of that. But by the same token, you know, as you know, show business is extremely tough. To get any traction at all is really tough. And in the past 2 years, acting has just felt warmer. It felt like it's easier to do than ever before because I've grown up a little.
Yeah, you know yourself more.
And also, the response seems to be more positive, and that's hard to ignore. You know, it's
Very cool. So I have in my hand
Yes.
Chris's new album. You have 2 albums out.
Yes,
right?
that's
this
the
is
most-
Secession. It's the most recent one.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, I don't know, can you see it? This is from Austria.
Yeah, on the inside, it's the secession building from
Yeah.
Vienna. Obviously, the word secession is a pretty strong word politically.
Separation.
Yeah, and you hear it now that Obama's in office. A lot of people in Texas want to secede from the country. Well, back when Bush was in office, a lot of New Yorkers like me wanted to secede from the country. You know,
I
and
remember.
the word, I think, for me was more about an artistic thing, which is what that movement in Vienna was all about, was that they seceded from the academy, the Viennese Art Academy, because they thought it was too rigid. And that we need to go our own way. And I thought that I needed to do that both as a musician and also personally too, because there was a lot of mixed feelings around losing my father and things that happened after that. There was this theme of like, I need to break away and start something new. So that's how that came about.
Wow. We just did a play called Charlie Victor Romeo.
Yeah.
And it's based on cockpit voice recorders about impending airplane disasters.
Yes. They were examining reality TV back in the late 1990s and how, like, what that means for the culture. And it was reality, everything. And they were in a bookstore, and one of them said, oh, look at this transcripts from air disasters. And one guy looked at it and says, you know, that kind of looks like a script. And they got the idea, why don't we stage this? People found it very intense and very moving, very, very tough to take in places.
So you were saying the lines of a person who was about to die or crash or...
In many cases, yeah.
Emergency landing or something.
Yeah. What I was fascinated by was the fact that these people were so well trained and so professional. And when you become a commercial airline pilot, you get years and years of training before you are allowed to do that. And what I noticed was that for these guys, they put all the emotion into the training, because I think if they thought, like if they broke down and said, oh God, I'll never see my wife again, then they definitely going to crash. But to them, they're not crashing the plane, they're trying to land the plane. So right to the end, they're following procedure, they're trying to solve the problem.
Yes.
And that's really what was the most moving and heroic part for me, was that right to the last second, they were trying everything they could. But just the fact that they never gave up was very, very moving. Yeah. And very cool to do as an actor. It was a fun, fun project.
It had wonderful reviews.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now I found a little quote here on Facebook.
Oh.
You describe yourself as a walking contradiction, a condo-living anarchist, a Rolex socialist, an Audi-driving singer-songwriter, an anti-consumerist who works on ad campaigns, a twisted romantic, a smart guy with shitty grades. It's a great description, but
it pretty much sums it up. Like you said, it is a contradiction, and you know, we're trapped in this market economy, and there's temptation all around us to want nice things, and that's very human too. It's both sides of human nature. It's very human to want the best for yourself, and you could stay in that head. I think it's also human nature to try to want the best for everybody. And I don't think anybody can live in one side or the other all the time, but I think most of us who are sort of hyper aware, we're trying, you know, and we're at least looking at it, you know, and it's like, how much can you really enjoy a $2,000 or $10,000 suit if you're walking over somebody who's starving, you know, and I think that's a question that everybody has to sort out in modern life, and some people look at it and some people don't.
What's your favorite German word?
Oh, jawohl.
That's a good one.
Because it's affirmative and very strict, and yet positive.
This is strict, yeah, exactly. I like it.
Yeah.
My greatest weakness is?
My greatest weakness, second guessing myself.
Good one. I would love to meet.
Oh gosh, if it could be anybody, it would be John Lennon. Yeah, for sure.
Very cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm really good at?
I'm told I'm really good at giving hugs.
Ah,
yeah, I'm a good hugger. Yeah.
I love it.
I think so.
Now, if you had the power to change anything in the world, what would you change?
Oh my goodness. Oh, the environment. Threats to the environment. If there was if I could find a way to feed and power everybody in as least cruel ways and least destructive ways as possible. If I could change that, I would. Right now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Here, I'm getting a hug.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for watching Hello New York. I'm Marianne Hettinger. See you next time.
that all my shit's up there.
Very
That's
cool.
all my stuff's up there.
Oh, he never came back. That guy, Chris, he never came back. But he's all back. Take a little still shot of everybody.
Oh, yeah.